I thought I'd try to make sense in this video. Great song, Lost Sailor. It's got some really unusual chords combined with Bobby's typical unusual voicings of difficult chords. When I'd done the videos for Let It Grow, I thought, all right, now I've tackled the hardest Dead song, but this one, Lost Sailor, is much harder. So I'm going to reverse the order. Instead of starting with the chord structure and figuring out what Garcia is doing on top of that, I'm going to start with Garcia a bit, because I think it will give us a framework to understand not only Jerry's soloing, but also understand some of the notes that are being used to drive Bobby's chords. Now, unfortunately, and not unexpectedly, not every note in the scale I'm about to talk about is one that Jerry plays. He plays notes outside of the scale we're going to cover, and not every chord that Bobby uses is built out of those notes. But it will give us something good to start with, I think. All right, so I think the way to understand Garcia's soloing often is he's working off of the F-sharp Phrygian mode. So let's start with something that's very close to the F-sharp Phrygian, which is the F-sharp minor or F-sharp Aeolian. So we would have F-sharp, G-sharp, A, which would be our flat 3, B for our 4th, C-sharp for our 5th, D for our flat 6, E for our flat 7th, back to our F-sharp. Now the difference between the F-sharp Aeolian and the F-sharp Phrygian is what happens on the second. Instead of going from the F-sharp to the G-sharp, we're going to just go from the F-sharp to the G. So the Phrygian has a flattened 2, a flattened 3, a flattened 6, and a flattened 7th. The F-sharp minor has a flattened 3, a flattened 6, and a flattened 7th. Now, the advantage of that I'm going to try to bring out, but let's just think about what we get if we're working off the F-sharp Phrygian. If you think about, try to think about what major scale has the same notes as the F-sharp Phrygian, that is the mode of F-sharp, the Phrygian mode. Well, the way you do it is you think, well, Phrygian is third in the order. Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and then Locrian, we just ignore that one. So, Phrygian is the third. So you ask yourself, what major scale has F-sharp as the third? Answer D. So the D major scale has the same notes as the F-sharp Phrygian. Now take it one step further. The D major scale, what is the corresponding minor of the D major? It's the B minor. So now think about what we've got. We've got an F-sharp, the notes that would make up the relevant notes for the F-sharp minor. That is, we've got the 1, the flat 3, the flat 6, and the flat 7. So we should be able to play an F-sharp minor chord over that, and it should work. We should also be able to play a B minor scale now over the F-sharp Phrygian. And that's exactly what we get when Garcia starts the song. Now, he doesn't always start. In the early versions, Bobby would come in with modifications of those two chords, but I'll start with Jerry. The times when Jerry does begin the song with Bobby, he starts off with an F-sharp minor, so F-sharp minor, and I'm just doing a partial B minor. So there we've got a foundation that's going to let us have a scale that we can use to solo over both the F-sharp minor and the B minor. Again, the F-sharp Phrygian allows us to do that. Now let me go through some of the other places where the key note difference between the F-sharp minor and the F-sharp Phrygian shows up. That is that we've got G in our F-sharp Phrygian as opposed to G-sharp. That G is going to show up in several places. So let me just go through some of the licks where we've got G at work instead of G-sharp. It's kind of another way of bringing out the significance of using the F-sharp Phrygian mode. Now, as I said, Jerry's part in the beginning, once the lyrics start, compass card is spinning, Jerry gives that little lick at times over the beginning line. So playing off of the B minor and then adding G. All right, so there's one place where it shows up. A lick that we're going to see repeated a number of times is going to be this little move from the F sharp to the G to the A. That's just what we'd expect in the F sharp Phrygian. F sharp, G, A. First three notes of the F sharp Phrygian. Alright, so here's another little move that he makes. So again, G shows up. For Bobby's intro, grab an F sharp minor using your thumb. Now, sort of rotate your first finger so that you can move on and off. We're going to move from where a key move is going to be from the C sharp to the B. So this is going to be, instead of a B minor, we're going to get this kind of B. Because that's the C sharp to B that Jerry's doing up high. So mess around with that. Sometimes play the full F sharp minor, sometimes just the pressure. Sometimes get the A, low A in there, or A along with the F sharp. Alright, so let me show you, walk through it. One of the ways that Bobby plays it. After the introduction, we're going to keep with that F sharp minor and that kind of B that we were using through the first line. Compass card is spin. And then when we get to the next couple lines, this is the part that I find the hardest. So I'm going to go slowly here. Helmet swinging to and fro. Ooh, where's the dog start? Now I think the chords that we're going to use, we're just going to go back and forth between what we're going to call an E minor add 9. So an E, and then our F sharp. It's actually a chord you may have used in Pink Floyd's Breathe. So we're going to move back from there, back and forth between that and the F sharp. Second part. Now we get to You're a Lost Sailor, Been Too Long at Sea. We have a combination of riffs and chords. So the riffs are going to be F sharp, G, A, A5, You're a Lost, F sharp minor Sailor, F sharp, G, E, all the way to a B minor. So think about it. B minor minor, and then the high three notes of an F sharp minor. Back to the A5, then we're going to have an A5 with an extra note that we're going to slide up that I'll come back and talk about. Alright, let me show you in action. Minor, pull off to that kind of beat we were doing at the start. Then we go around the verses all the way another time. Now here's another tough transition. So we've got been too long at C. Now I think what we've got here is do an A5, add the A sharp, and then do a pull off of the pinky that's fretting the E and the A. So that shape up to the 5th and the 8th, and then end on E and the A, and if you want, get the A down there too. Been too long at sea. Okay, so we go around the verse, the second verse. Some days the gales are howling, some days the sea stills glass. And we get back to your lost sailor, been too long at sea, the stuff we just did, ending with that little pull-off move sliding all the way up to that kind of E that we were doing, or kind of A. Then we get, now the shore lights beckon. Now here I think we've got F sharp minor. Do a G and let the high E ring. Back to the F sharp minor. And then we've got this series of little pull-offs, little step down we're going to do over. It is the price for being free. And I think the way to do it is here is do an A with the kind of inversion that Bobby likes. Get the C sharp. C, E, and then this odd chord, A sharp, let the D ring, get the A sharp, D, get the A, and then get the D again, and the high E. Here, D, E, C sharp, then get your pinky on the B note, so we got C sharp, B, and then with your thumb get the G. And then go back to the... So we're back to our F sharp, we had learned from our F sharp Phrygian, there's that G. Now this C chord's flying. Now here we're going to move up to an E up at the 4th, and we're going to go from an E back and forth to an E major 7th. About doing an C sharp, what would that be? C sharp 7th. So we went from E major 7th, now we got move it, pinky up from the F up to the F sharp. So again, we do that little lick off the A with a G, then we went up to an E major 7, C sharp, C, E, then that weird A sharp chord, I think we might call it an A sharp major 7 flat 5 when I looked at my little chord charts. Back to an A, with a little hammer on the D. Alright, so we finished that little bit. There's no place in the world you can be. Back to our F sharp minor and the little B that we were playing around with in the introduction. Then we go around the whole cycle of a verse while Jerry's soloing over it. I think largely in the F sharp Phrygian that we had talked about. Then we get to You're a Lost Sailor, You've Been Too Long at Sea. We've gone through that before. That ends with that little There's a price for being, and we went through that little and now we set ourselves up for the final drifting and dreaming transition, which I'll go through now. Alright, so as we head into the drifting and dreaming part, the chords we're going to use, we're going to do an A, then we're going to have choices for how to do an A with a G, F sharp minor, G5, I think is the best way to play the G. One way to get from the A to the A with the G is that little lick we did before. sharp, the B, and the G. And gradually it's going to pick up pace. Another way in which Bobby does it is sometimes he'll do just an A5. And we go through that a bunch of times as long as he feels like doing some vocal ad-libbing on that. And then we move really to the end of that song into the final transition that gets played. Well, actually, they take a little pause, and then they come back with a little transition chord and go into sync. So I'll do that, and then we'll wrap it up. Now finally, after the short pause, before they move into actual Saint, we get this really, really strange chord. Very hard to hear exactly what's going on. The best I can make sense of it is, grab the A sharp with your thumb. We had seen the A sharp before, so it's not exactly a surprise. We will see it again. So we got A sharp, then with your third finger get the octave, with your first finger get the C on the third string, and then with your pinky get the C on the high ing. And we're off and running into Saint. Alright, so maybe I'll try to work that one up after I recover from trying to do this one. So I hope this was of some use. Maybe think of this as like one of those Google ads, as a community project. If you got chords that you think work better, feel free, please, share. It's a great song. Be nice to really know how to play it. So anything you got to contribute, please go ahead and do so. So I hope it was of some use. Take it easy.